Hey guys, Luke's here in Vintage Surplus, and today we're going to go over a lot more methods of how to use the HSGI Bungee kits and shot cord in general. So we're going to talk about what it is again, and then just show you how to use it. Alright guys, so these are the HSGI Bungee kits. So if you haven't checked out our other video on these, I recommend you do so, because there's the more basic functions of the bungee kits and how to use them. But we're going to go over what it is again, just in case you didn't watch that video. So what it is these are it's a 20-inch length of shot cord, about 20 inches. So when folded in half, you got about 10 inches to play with. So in the packs we have, you get them in 6 packs. We have a couple different colors. These are OD green, and you're going to get a tab for each of those pieces of shot cord as well. And we can go over how to use those as well and how they look on your kit. So 10 inches of shot cord is plenty to do a lot of things. And at the end of the day, anytime you would think of tying on something to your kit, you're like, man, I really wish this was on there for occasional use, if anything. This is where these come in handy. So let's go over a few things and how to weave it first off, because I've had some questions of how do I even put this on my kit, because everybody starts somewhere, and got to show you how to do it. So basically, when you have your MOLLE webbing, this is going to weave through kind of like how you do a MOLLE strap. So when you have it in half, you're going to start with a center point, so where it's sewn in, that MOLLE strap and the MOLLE webbing. You'll put one on either side. Get it under there and pull it through. So there's how you start. Now you can either choose to use the tabs or not use the tabs. What those tabs do is it gives you a place to grab. So if you see here, a place to grab onto that. And it gives a place where, depending on how you're weaving it, helps you weave it in general. So to put these through, if you look at it, there's 2 places to put through. So you can do it wide or you can do it narrow. It just depends on what you're putting in there. And if you're putting a wider item through the shot cord, you might want to put it wider. If you're putting a skinny item or you just want extra attention, do it narrow. So pretty easy, just put that through the hole right there. Boom. And then depending on how far down you need, how much space you need for an item, I can go right here, have an inch gap, be pretty tight, or go all the way down, or go a little further too if I wanted to. So we'll just go all the way down, and that gives you about 3 inches of space to shove something in there. Now once you got it, best case would be take what you're going to put in there. If you have if you know for sure you're going to store maybe like a tourniquet in there, put that tourniquet in there, kind of get what retention level you want, how tight you want it, and then tie your knot. So once your knot, just do an overhand knot, nothing too crazy. Overhand knot will do it. And then once it's tied down, if you don't want the excess shot cord and you don't want that dangling around, you can cut it and just burn it. So once you cut that, and then you take a flame to it just for a second, so that way it melts back over. Now your shot cord's not going to go anywhere, it's not going to fray. And once you got the tension adjusted down, it's going to be set. So this will last you a long time of use. This shot cord doesn't burn out pretty quick. So even through sun exposure, everything like that, occasional replacement, it's going to last longer than your heavy duty rubber bands. If you're familiar with using rubber bands for this kind of method, this will last you longer and gives you a greater ability to adjust for retention. So that's why bungee kits are really good, because the rubber bands are great, but they burn out pretty quick and they're more or less one-time use and you don't have adjustability. So that's where these come into play. So let's look at some of the ways we can mount it on there. This is a vertical orientation, just like I did here. Pretty easy, and you mount it vertical. That's great for tourniquets, other items you need straight up and down on your kit. I know some guys don't like to use these for tourniquets. It's a good minimalist way to mount the tourniquet on your front of your kit, and you see it everywhere nowadays anyways. Just watch out if you're going to use it like that for putting too much wear on that tourniquet as it is. So make sure your location where it goes for there isn't somewhere you're always going to be on your belly if you're laying down in the prone or rubbing against everything that walking around. But it's a good way to do it and keep it ready to go and easy to pull out. Another way to do it is horizontal. And now this way you might have to play around with a little bit, but when horizontal, same kind of function. Weave right here, get your spacing, and tie it off. And you can tuck this knot underneath once you cut it down and get it hidden out of the way, if anything. And that's going to stay there pretty well. And now you have a horizontal method for keeping stuff on there. So what kind of stuff can you keep in there? So Tourniquets are probably the most common way if you're going to put this on the front of your kit to weave in. Another thing you keep in there, pretty handy, is some tubular webbing, or stuff like this, just webbing itself. So if you need that handy, you can throw some webbing in there, fold it up, put it in there. It's not going to go anywhere. Same with 550 cord. You can put a bunch of 550 cord in there. It's also a good place to keep your gloves. So if you have gloves and need readily available, gloves are a good one too. And again, depending on how your retention is, they're not going to go anywhere once it's in there. So getting them in there can sometimes be the pain, especially if you have it real tight like this one. I didn't adjust it down to begin with. So I can get it in there. But again, this just shows you, like, once your retention's down and you got it where you want, these aren't going anywhere. So they're still easy to pull out at the end of the day, especially if it's a more rigid kit. This chest mount here, isn't super rigid. They don't have any pouches on there to help keep it rigid. But this ain't going nowhere. So if even it gets snagged, gets caught on something, it's not just going to pull out immediately. Same with your tourniquet. It's going to stay in there pretty well. Any sort of webbing or tubular webbing, it's going to stay in there real easy. So those are your basics of how to keep it on there. Other things you can put in there, if you have chem lights go great in these, horizontal or vertical. If you have netting, which I'll show you in a minute about some netting uses, they work great as a makeshift kind of frog for, say, one of those guys that carries a hatchet on their kit. You can really get this retention down, get the width down. If you're one of those guys that's going to carry a tomahawk or hatchet on your kit, if you have a sheath on there, it works as a makeshift frog for lightweight items. Now, at the end of the day, these are for lightweight items. So you don't want to put 10 pounds of stuff. You don't want to put a dumbbell in there. It's not going to hold it really well, and it's going to, burn out that shot cord pretty quickly. But lightweight items, 2-3 pounds at most. And if you double them up, even better. You're going to hold that in there pretty well. It's not going to go anywhere, and there's no worries. Other things, lightweight clothing. Let's say you have a backpack with a big old molly field. Lightweight clothing you need easy access to. This is a good way to do it. Raincoats, stuff like that. Let's take a look at how it works on a belt. So for a belt, and I have just an old padded belt from a flick, pull it out to show you. Same kind of method. You can mount it there vertical or horizontal. Here, I've gone a little further spacing. So on there, you saw me go pretty much right between where it's sewn in. I have an inch gap on this one, so this was a little wider. So maybe that works best for a tourniquet for you, if you like a little bit more width. If you have wider items in your stash in there, like when this is all bunched up and rolled up, you might want a little bit wider. So on a belt, it works the same way, and that gives you a really lightweight and small footprint way to keep things readily accessible on your belt. At the end of the day, these are probably one of the easiest additions to any kit, is a bungee kit like this, and to add to the capabilities in what you can carry and can't carry. This is a way to add to your kit really well. Lightweight, no footprint at the end of the day. You can mount molly webbing on either side of this still, have this 1 inch gap right here, and put stuff there. So at the end of the day, can't say it enough, this is just an easy addition for any kit. So now let's look at a backpack and how it kind of looks on a backpack. So let's talk on the bottom of a backpack. So if you have any sort of tactical oriented backpack, like this beaver tail here, this Kelty here, or even some of your mystery range backpacks, you're going to have some webbing, molly webbing down there. Now, what that affords you the ability to is mount pouches and mount such things as these bungee kits. So you can see on the bottom of the beaver tail here, I kind of have it wide spaced, but I mounted and attached the bungee kit here to hold some netting. And that gives you the ability to hold these lightweight items like we talked about, and the more bulky items, easily on your kit, easily accessible. And once this is rolled back up, or just even bunched up, I can put it right back on my kit. So it's going to come right out, and it's not going to add any weight. This doesn't add any weight. Once this is on here like this doesn't create a snag point. It's going to tighten itself back up on my kit, on my backpack, on the back of my plate carrier. Anywhere you have this mounted to and your retention is correct, it's going to tighten itself back up. So even with my netting out, it's not going to catch. And I can do loops. I can do a loop here. I can do a loop here. Have a little wider for more bulky items. And this is a really just good way to add to your backpack even. So think about that. Think about where you can put this on your kit. Whether it be a backpack, wherever I put it. So your belt, get that on there, or even on the front of your kit, like a plate carrier or your chest rig that has extra MOLLE webbing. Another way you see these used is PTTs, so your push talks on comms. If you're like a Peltor or something like that, headset, anything, this is a good way to keep those handy, retained, aside from just a clip on there. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this quick video on just a little more uses for these bungee kits. They're great. They're an easy addition to any kit. I hope you found out something new with this.